Hey folks, I am Troy and you're watching TroyTube. In this video we're going to install a real WordPress security plugin and do some configuration to help secure your website. Now we're going to do this using the iThemes security plugin. There are a couple of versions of this plugin. There is a free version and a paid pro version of it. We're going to install and use the basic free version. It is really good. It does a really good job at some of the things that they give you for free, so I always recommend using this. And if you want to pay for it, the pro version gives you even a lot more robust features, but we're going to install the free version, do some basic configuration. It'll help save you some headache down the road, and it can prevent some brute force login type security risks and things like that nature. So we'll install that plugin and I'll switch over the computer and we'll get started. We're already logged into our WordPress admin control panel, and we're going to get started by going to the plugin section and clicking add new. And then up here on the top right, we'll start by typing in iThemes, and it will bring up many plugins listed under the iThemes. And we're going to choose this first one here that says iThemes Security, formerly Better WP Security, and we'll install that plugin. And then once it's installed, we'll click Activate. And now we're going to go to the settings of the iThemes Security plugin. And it will tell you that it can go through a series of checks for you and set your security settings for you. However, I'm going to close this and we're going to take a look at each of these individually and take a look at the ones that I use. There are some down at the bottom that are pro versions of the iThemes security. So if you want to check that out, you can go pay for the actual pro plugin. I do pay for it on my actual websites. It is a really nice package to pay for. It's worth the money in my opinion, because you can enable reCAPTCHA, two-factor authentication, and things like that that are real easy to configure and to use on your website to make it even more secure. So the first thing we'll take a look at is the banned user settings. And this has some settings in it where there is a ban list that you can enable where someone maintains a list of IP addresses that are commonly used to try to hack into WordPress sites. Then we can enable ban lists. It's enabled by default. We can specify certain IP addresses or IP address ranges manually. If we want to add those there, if they're known, you can set the limit, the number of banned IP addresses for the configuration file, because it can take some time to load, or maybe even cause some problems if the list is too large. If we scroll on down to password requirements, you can enable strong passwords, and this will apply to whichever groups that you want it to apply to. So you could, for example, only require it for administrator and editor users and contributors. Maybe subscribers and everybody else would be less restrictive on password requirements. Then we'll go to the global settings, and typically you'll want to have user logouts set up. That way, if someone is trying to hack into your website, there are a lot of scripts on the internet that seek out and find WordPress websites, because it is used so widely and has been around for so long, that they will repeatedly try to log into your website, and eventually if they try to guess your password and they get it right, can get in and cause some problems for you. But if you use this feature, it will automatically lock them out for periods of time. That way the scripts are more likely to give up, and you can whitelist IP addresses that will never be banned. So if you click this button, it will add your current IP address to this list, and you can alter log settings so that it will keep track of things for a period of time. And if you wanted, you could hide security in the admin bar. That's this link up here at the top. This would be if you had multiple people who were logging into your site, possibly to do different administrative functions or contributing to writing blog posts or something like that, and you wouldn't want them to see that. But we'll leave that unchecked for now, and we'll save settings. We're going to enable 404 detection. and we can look at the settings here, and this is another area where the system will watch for scripts and other things that are trying to basically access pages on your website, and if it doesn't find those pages to exploit, it will give a 404 error. It's kind of a page not found message, and if you get those repeatedly, that means someone or a script could be trying to basically hack your website, looking for holes to exploit. So if we turn that on, it will automatically block them as well. You can configure database backups. We're not going to worry about that right now. We can also use local brute force protection. So with local brute force protection, this will keep someone, again, from trying to basically log in as an administrator over and over again until they guess your password. And if you'll remember, we, in a previous video, installed our SSL certificate and already set the enforcement of SSL. We could use this feature, but since we've already done it, we're going to leave that disabled for now. And here's a setting you're going to want to look at, is the notification center. And basically, when different tasks are performed or detections are made, it will send emails to either all administrator users by default, or you can change it to where it was just admin if you had multiple administrators. And so some of these different ones, I tend to turn off the daily digest and the site lockout notification because they become kind of spammy, and they send the notifications to you over and over again. So I just turn those off. I don't want to know about them, and those things just happen constantly with site lockouts and scripts trying to access your pages. So I just turn off those notifications. And if we'd like, we can enable file change detection. So once our site is completely set up is when I would recommend looking at some of this, because until then you're going to be making changes to your website quite often, and then when you update plugins and all of those things, those will change certain files, so you'll get notifications when those change. So I'll go ahead and enable it and show you the settings. For example, the htaccess file that we edited to force SSL, sometimes some of these files you want to make sure that they aren't getting changed, but right now we're going to leave that disabled just because we're going to be doing so much to the site over the next few weeks that I don't need to know when those things are changed. And then there is also network brute force detection to guard against hacking. And then there are some system and WordPress tweaks that you can use if you want that can enhance performance. I typically don't mess with those unless I'm having issues. So again, iThemes security, it's a great basic plugin that does some brute force detection, auto lockouts of snooping and things like that, that makes your website a little bit more secure for you, and makes things a little bit less worrisome over time if a script or virus or a person using some of those methods to try to guess your logins and gain access to your site. So again, if you want to get the Pro version, the iThemes Security Pro, I do pay for it. I think it's a great value. It makes it really easy to install Google CAPTCHA and two-factor authentication. So you can really make your website pretty secure. There is another plugin that I use that we'll go over in another video called WordFence, and we'll talk about why I use it in conjunction with iThemes when we get to that video. So hopefully this has been helpful to you, and if you have any questions or comments, post them down below the video.